In 2016, Turkey depended on Western weapons to protect itself. By 2025, Turkey builds its own supersonic drones, drone ships, and stealth fighters. This fast rise made China pay close attention. China did not expect this. So what changed so fast? Turkey now sends its drones to more than 31 countries. Many of these countries were once inside China's influence. Turkey even built the first drone carrier warship before China could. This shocked many leaders in Beijing. Why is Turkey moving faster than big powers? Turkey's defense exports are now close to beating China's drone sales. Turkish drones win because they are cheap, simple, and battle-tested. China never thought Turkey would challenge them in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. This forced China to rethink everything. From 2016 to 2025, Turkey changed from a regional military power to a global player. Chinese drones are being replaced by Turkish drones in many countries. China now has to update its whole global strategy. And this is only the beginning. This video shows how Turkey's military rise is forcing China to recalculate its future. The drones, the ships, the fighters, the exports, and the bases, all moving fast. This story explains how one country changed the balance of power in less than 10 years. On July 15, 2016, a failed coup hit Turkey and shocked the whole country. Tanks moved into Ankara and fighter jets bombed the parliament. The plan failed, and President Erdogan stayed in power. But this moment changed Turkey forever. After the coup, Turkey stopped trusting foreign weapons. The US refused to give Turkey the F-35 fighter jet. NATO countries became slow to sell advanced equipment. Turkey saw that it could not depend on anyone. So Turkey made one big decision: build everything at home. Before 2016, Turkey imported 70% of its military gear. After 2016, Turkey pushed hard to make local weapons. By 2020, Turkey started exporting its own drones, ships, and missiles. And these new weapons spread faster than anyone expected. It was like losing trust in old friends and choosing to stand alone. Turkey stopped waiting for permission. Turkey began building weapons at high speed. And the first success was not a jet. It was a drone. This small drone shocked the world. It also destroyed a huge part of China's drone business. China did not see it coming. What drone changed everything? How did a small aircraft beat China in global markets? The answer is the Bayraktar TB2, and it changed real wars. The Bayraktar TB2 is a small, cheap drone with laser-guided missiles. It costs about $5 million, which is cheaper than Chinese drones. But the real shock came when the TB2 proved itself in real combat. This is where China first felt the pressure. In Libya, Syria, and Nagorno-Karabakh, the TB2 destroyed tanks, air defenses, and armored vehicles. Videos of TB2 strikes spread across the internet. The world saw Chinese CH-4 and Wing-Lung drones fail in missions where the TB2 succeeded. Many countries started to doubt Chinese drones. From 2019 to 2022, the TB2 won battle after battle. Nations that bought Chinese drones began canceling orders. They switched to Turkish drones because they worked better in real fights. Turkey sold TB2s to 31 countries, including places China thought were loyal to them. China understood the market was changing fast. It was like a new phone that was cheaper and still worked better. China led the drone market for years. Then Turkey arrived and took the lead with real results. And this was only the warm-up. The TB2 was not the final step. Turkey was already building stronger and faster next-gen drones. China had nothing close to these new systems. The gap was about to grow even wider. What happens when Turkey builds a supersonic unmanned fighter jet? How does China react when Turkey jumps ahead by a full generation? The Akinci and Kızılelma drones will show the answer. In 2022, Turkey showed the world the Akinci, a high-altitude drone that carries cruise missiles. Soon after, Turkey revealed Kızılelma, the first supersonic unmanned fighter jet. Kızılelma made its first flight on December 14, 2022. This was something China did not expect at all. This was not a small upgrade for Turkey. This was Turkey building autonomous jets that can fly from carriers. China did not have any unmanned jet with these abilities. Beijing knew the race was changing fast. Kızılelma can fly at supersonic speed. It can fight in air-to-air combat. It is made to launch from Turkey's new drone carrier. Chinese drones are still slower and depend fully on ground control. Turkey had just jumped ahead a full generation. It was like seeing a rival release a product you thought was impossible. This changed naval warfare completely. What happens when you put dozens of drones on an aircraft carrier? Why does China have no ship like this? The TCG Anadolu is about to show why Beijing is worried. In April 2023, Turkey launched the TCG Anadolu, the world's first drone carrier warship. It was built to carry unmanned aircraft, not manned jets. China's carriers still depend on pilots and manned jets. This was the first shock for Beijing. The TCG Anadolu can carry Kizilelma drones, TB2 drones, and many other UAVs. It does not need fighter pilots to launch air missions. It does not burn huge amounts of jet fuel to stay ready. It is a floating drone base that can move anywhere. This changed naval strategy overnight. The ship is 232 meters long and can hold over 30 aircraft. It can operate in the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. China has no drone carrier of its own. Beijing started watching every move closely. It is like inventing a new game piece that your opponent does not have. China built carriers for manned jets. Turkey built one for robots, and it works. But Turkey was not finished. The drone carrier shocked China's Navy planners. But Turkey was already building a stealth fighter to challenge China's exports. This fighter aims straight at the J-31 and J-35 market. This created a direct clash with China's defense plans. What happens when Turkey builds a jet to rival China's best export fighter? How does the KAAN compare to China's J-31 and J-35? The answer is a clear challenge to Beijing's global defense market. On February 21, 2024, Turkey's Kayan fighter jet made its first flight. The Kayan is a fifth-generation stealth fighter with 2 engines. It is built to replace Turkey's older F-16 jets, and it competes directly with China's J-31 and J-35. China did not expect this. The KAAN shows Turkey can build advanced jets without the US or Europe. China believed only a few nations could build stealth jets. Turkey proved it belonged in that group. This changed the export game fast. The Kaan has a stealth body, advanced computers, and Turkish-made weapons. Turkey plans to build more than 200 Kaan jets for its air force. Countries blocked from buying the F-35 now choose between the J-35 or the KAAN. This created a direct face-off. It is like 2 car brands releasing new models on the same day. China expected to control the fighter jet market. Turkey showed up with a jet just as strong. And buyers noticed, the KAAN is more than a jet. It is part of Turkey's plan to replace Chinese weapons in many countries. And the export numbers show Turkey is winning. But how big is this shift? How many countries are choosing Turkish weapons instead of Chinese ones now? Which regions is China losing because of Turkey's rise? The next part exposes the full shockwave. Turkey now sends its drones to more than 31 countries. Many of these countries used to buy Chinese drones like the CH-4 and Wing Lung. Now they are switching to TB2, Akinci, and Ankara drones. China is losing buyers fast. And this is happening in places China thought it controlled. Countries like Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Ethiopia are choosing Turkey instead of China. These places are inside China's usual influence zone. But Turkey is taking the lead. This is a direct hit to China's market. Turkey's defense exports may pass $10 billion a year by 2026. This is more money than China makes from its drone exports. Turkish drones are cheaper, battle-tested, and easier to repair. Buyers want results, not promises. It is like a new phone brand beating the old brand with a better product. China ruled the drone market for many years. Turkey took that spot in less than 5 years. But drones are only half the story. Turkey also revealed a new electronic warfare system that shocked China. China did not think Turkey could build this kind of tech. This system can jam and disable enemy signals. And China is very worried. What weapon can block GPS, shut down radars, and stop enemy drones? How did Turkey build something China expected only from the US or Israel? The next part explains why Gescord changes everything. In 2025, Turkey tested its new Gescord electronic warfare system. Gescord uses AI to jam GPS signals, block radars, and stop enemy drones. China never thought Turkey could build a system like this. This was a surprise China did not see coming. Electronic warfare is one of the hardest military technologies to master. China spends billions trying to improve its own EW systems. Turkey built Gescord without help. And it works perfectly. This changed China's view of Turkey fast. Jescord uses artificial intelligence to detect threats in real time. It can block GPS-guided missiles before they reach their target. It can confuse or disable entire drone swarms. This gives Turkey a huge advantage in modern wars. Now Turkey trains local armies, runs naval patrols, and sells weapons there. This is slowly cutting China's leverage in the region. Beijing is starting to feel pressure. Turkey's Somalia base is the largest foreign military base in all of Africa. Qatar hosts Turkish troops and gives Turkey access to the Gulf. New expansions in the Horn of Africa let Turkey watch key Red Sea routes. China sees its space shrinking. These bases also give Turkey strong soft power across the Muslim world. This is influence China also wants but cannot easily reach. This is why China must now recalculate. So what happens when Turkey becomes the top military power in the Muslim world? By 2026, China now sees Turkey as a real global competitor, not a small regional country. Turkey sells drones to 31 nations, runs overseas bases, and builds fifth-generation fighters. China is now forced to change its whole defense plan. Beijing did not expect this shift. China spent many years growing power through Belt and Road and weapons exports. Turkey changed that in less than 10 years. And China has no fast way to catch up. This is a major shock for Beijing. Turkey's defense exports grew from $2 billion in 2016 to over $10 billion by 2026. Turkish drones replace Chinese drones in many countries. The Khan fighter now competes with China's J-35 for sales. China is losing ground quickly. This fight is not only about weapons, it is about how innovation beats size and money. Turkey proved this in front of the whole world. China is learning the hard way. So what happens when a mid-sized nation outpaces a superpower? Turkey's fast military rise became a global shock, not just a local story. It forced China, a superpower, to recalculate its plans. Turkey showed that speed and innovation beat size and money. This changed the game. China thought it controlled the defense market in Africa and Central Asia. Turkey entered and took that market in less than 10 years. Now China is trying to catch up. The balance shifted fast. Real innovation and combat-proven weapons beat fancy ads and big budgets. Turkey built weapons that work in real wars. China built many systems that only look good on paper. The results spoke loudest. From the 2016 coup to the KAAN fighter in 2024 to GESKORD in 2025, every step pushed China to rethink its strategy. And China is still calculating what comes next. The pressure is real. We began with a question. How is Turkey making China recalculate? Now you know. Drones, carriers, fighters, exports, bases, and influence. The rise is clear. So when someone says only size decides global power, show them Turkey's rise. Because innovation changed everything. Turkey went from importing 70% of its weapons to exporting $10 billion by 2026. China lost drone markets to a country it never saw as a rival. It is like someone solving a hard puzzle that only experts were supposed to solve. China believed it had a long lead in electronic warfare. Turkey closed that gap in just a few years. But Turkey's rise is not only about drones and tech. Turkey is also growing a powerful navy. Its new ships operate in the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and beyond. These areas overlap with China's major trade routes. And that is where China starts to worry even more. What happens when Turkey builds modern warships in key sea lanes? How can a rising Turkish navy affect China's shipping and Belt and Road plans? The answer becomes clear when you see the Milgem frigates and new submarines. Turkey is building new Milgem warships. China did not expect Turkey to grow this fast at sea. China depends on safe trade through the Suez Canal, Red Sea, and Mediterranean. Turkey is now building a navy that can influence these same routes. This makes China watch every move closely. The balance at sea is starting to change. The Milgem frigates carry strong missiles, air defense systems, and advanced sonar. The Milden submarines can travel far with deep stealth. Turkey is shifting from a coastal navy to a blue water navy. This rise creates pressure on China's shipping path, but ships alone are not enough. Turkey is expanding military bases in places China did not expect. These bases sit close to China's supply lines. This is the part that worries Beijing the most. Where is Turkey building these bases next?